quite easy to demonstrate. There is a fairly substantial gap between men and women. In fact, over the last 40 years, the difference in rating between men and women has barely changed at all, and it's quite significant. It would mean that a player who is, let's say, ranked number 50 in the world, a male ranked number 50 in the world, as opposed to the top 50 woman, the male would probably win in excess of 70. He can win 75%, or score 75%.
Okay, Nigel, I'm just wondering whether that's to do with science or whether that's to do with sexism, because chess does seem to have a real problem with sexist attitudes. Sabrina Shavanas, the British women's international master, says she's faced it all her career. Sexist jokes, put down. She was asked if she wanted to play in the junior section. So the fact that there aren't very many women playing chess, is it to do with the way their brains are wired or the attitudes they face when they try and participate?
Look, I think probably sexism is an issue in chess, and I wouldn't try and escape from that. Sabrina would know much better. She's had personal experience of that. But you know, there are plenty of countries. There are countries like Georgia where there is very, very substantial female participation. It's roughly 30%, which is in fact much higher than in the UK, for example.
Well, if we're trying to get that up, do you think that your comments are helping? I mean, you could say that your comments are actually incredibly damaging. It's like saying girls aren't very good at maths, science or driving. I think, in fact, in this article, you do say that men are better at driving than women.
You know, women have better verbal skills. Women have all sorts of skills where they are superior to men. I said things actually quite uncontroversial, which an amazing number of people have criticised. I said, you know, men and women are hardwired differently. Their brains are hardwired differently. There are observable sex differences in the brains, even in the fetus. Men have brains which are 10% larger. They also have considerably more grey matter. Women have very, very much more white matter in their brains than men do.
We'll agree. We do have different brains. We do have different ways of thinking, but we can still achieve the same results. We just get about it different ways. I mean, you were beaten by Judith Polgar, the former women's world champion. Did she bring her man brain that day?
Not at all. I mean, Judith Polgar is by far the most successful woman player in chess history, and she's a giant of the game. And the fact that I have a bad score against one individual woman doesn't prove anything with the general point. So I'm talking about averages here. I'm delighted that players like Judith Polgar and Hou Yifan, who is the great young Chinese player, are able to compete on a very high level. And I believe women can attain that. They have already done that, but they statistically they don't do it in the same numbers, and the average gap is pretty large. And I think that is down to sex differences. I don't know what those differences are. Every person I speak to has a different theory. Some people say it's male aggression. I had Sabrina Shavanas, who you quoted, talking about men being more obsessive than women. It could be true. But whatever the reasons for that skill in chess, and I never made any attempt to define what those are. Those sex differences exist. And the point of my article was that I said that I think we should just accept that.
OK, well, I'm going to admit I can't play, but this has been a real incentive for me to take up the game and try and prove you wrong. OK, Nigel Shaw, thank you.
I would be delighted if you did. Thank you.
When I get good, I'll come back to you. We'll have a game.